Can you be addicted to a person? By that I mean this. Are there people who fall in love with someone and become addicted to that person, that they cannot let that person go, that they feel that they must be around that person all of the time? They can't get enough of that person. Is that an addiction? What about somebody who's married to someone and can't let them go? Even though you know that person is not treating you right, you know that person is doing things in opposition to the way you would like to see things done, but you can't help it. You can't get rid of that person. Is that an addiction? I know years ago, I don't know if you've ever heard of root workers. There was a lot of discussion when I was in college about root workers, and those were people who, when you had problems, you could go to them and they would do some things that would make a person just cling to you no matter what. Now, I hate to think that that's witchcraft at all, and it was not synonymous with witchcraft. But they said it was root working, and root workers could do all kinds of things in your family to make your life better. And on the other hand, they could do things to make your life worse. I don't know if you've had any experience with root workers, but I kind of think sometimes, I wonder if someone might have a root worker working on their behalf, because some people cannot get others out of their minds no matter what they do. They know that person doesn't mean them any good. Some of them are in abusive relationships, but they just don't want to let them go. They can't let them go. And I used to say to myself, well, what is it? If somebody is hurting you, why can't you just let them go? And then I understand that there are some people who are addicted to abuse. If they don't have someone abusing them, they don't think that the person likes them or loves them. That their idea of love is based on hurt. And that's kind of hard to believe. But I want us to think about that for a moment. Abuse, addiction. Now, addiction is usually thought about in terms of drugs, some kind of drugs that you're taking. But now, I could see more habit than addiction. And sometimes that can be a form of manipulation. If somebody calls you the same time every day, you look forward to that call, and you know you're going to be talking for an hour or more on the phone. You get used to that. If somebody comes and prepares a meal for you, you know that you're going to be eating every day at that same time, and that person is going to take care of you with a meal. And I think most of the times that happens in a marital relationship. You know that a certain time things are going to happen because you're on a schedule. But it can become an addiction if you expect it and you can't do without it. And then when the schedule gets changed, even in a small way, you're thrown off because it's a change and you don't want it to change. Some people get upset about that because they're addicted to having it done a certain way, and they don't want anything else but that certain way, that certain time. Dinner is supposed to be at 6 o'clock, not 7 o'clock or 7:30. If you have a meeting or you have to work late, my meal is supposed to be on that table. That seems like, to me, some kind of an addiction. Or that there's a problem when you can't just go and get your own food if it has to be on there at a certain time. But we are addicted by certain things, and we don't realize that it is an addiction to the extent that our whole life is strewn apart because it's not happening for us. And we want it to happen. And we want it to happen a certain way. I've always felt that you can be addicted to a person. But maybe you've never thought of that. That we can have an addiction to a person. And when that addiction is taken away from us and we don't want that to happen, we get just like the drug addict. We go searching for it. And if that person to whom we are addicted does not do what we say, we get angry. And somebody wants to hurt you or the object of your affection. And that's an addiction of some kind. I know it's control. Control, manipulation, addiction. It might be synonymous. Those might be synonyms, really, for that, for the addiction. And it's really a tragedy. And when I think about the fact that we have children out there, and we want to protect our children, and our son falls in love with a young lady, or our daughter falls in love with a young man, and we see that what they're going through is an addiction of some kind because they can't do without that phone call. He's supposed to call me at 8 o'clock and he hasn't called yet. Something's wrong with that picture. And the same way for the male. So maybe we need to look into that. We need to look into love addictions because I think they happen more often than not. And we need to be thinking about them. Maybe there's nothing we can do about it because we're not in it. But if therapy is needed, then we need to be right there to assist in any kind of way we can. Let's think about that. What do you think about addiction, being addicted to a person rather than a drug? That person can be the drug. And when that person wants to leave and wants to be with someone else, that's your addiction, and you don't want that to happen. And sometimes lives can be lost because of this kind of an addiction. Let's think about that and talk about it some more. Why don't you make some comments?